Dallas, it's your fucking time to win a cup. Come on, dude.
Welcome back to the Checking From Behind podcast. I'm Preston, joined alongside Zach. We've got a very special episode for you today. Today is March 7th, 2025. I think this day should be a national holiday in the United States and Canada, also known as the NHL Trade Deadline Day. And man, it does not disappoint today.
It was exciting.
Yeah.
And we got, by the way, at midnight, we ended up getting Brock Nelson's trade, which we'll get to in a second. But then the Mikko Rantanen stuff also came out.
Yeah.
Took 13 hours to finalize it because Mikko Rantanen and Dallas were sawing on an extension. It finally got done. And I sat at my PC and my setup from 9 a.m. until 4:30
Yeah,
p.m.
I had to work today, and it was very hard focusing on things. At one point, I had to kind of pretty much turn my phone off just so and turn off the TV because I had NHL Network on the background watching Elliot Freeman break all the trades on TV. Yeah, very distracting. I mean, there was so much. I feel like this is one of the better trade deadlines we have in a while. I think another interesting thing about this trade deadline is, at least to me, there's very clear-cut winners and losers. Like, I feel like today's trade deadline, at least in my recent memory, did more to separate cup contenders from the rest of the league.
Oh, it did. And even though it was a seller's market, this was one of the deadlines where you could tell which teams were sellers and which teams were clearly buyers because of the first round picks, the second round picks, going for third liners, going for even fourth liners, and going for rentals. And I kind of felt bad because I was home, I was off from work, and I was blowing up your phone and Chris's
You're fine.
phone
I was
about
expecting
trades.
that.
And
it was all the discussions that were the more distracting thing.
That's fair. I mean, at like 3 o'clock, I was like, you know what? Let me take a chill pill. Everything's done.
There was a point today where I had to take a walk away from my phone and my computer at work because I was physically angry about something the Sabres did. I calmed down. I was gonna go on a rant tonight. I've calmed down. I'm not gonna do the rant. I've had some time to think. I'm still not happy, but I'm not gonna go on full on screaming mode.
This dude. When that trade happened, I'm like, you know, not a bad trade, but I want to see how it plays out the next year and a half. And Preston's like, this trade fucking sucks. What the fuck are we doing? I don't any other GM can make this trade, and I'd say it's a fine trade. Just because Kevin and I'm sitting
I didn't
here,
say it like that.
Oh, I'm being overdramatic.
Yeah.
But it was genuinely hilarious to me. He's like, I'm going on a rant tonight, and I was like, you can do all the talking, and clearly you've calmed down a little bit. So
I was emotional. I mean, I was also stressed out from work. So yeah, it was a fun day. Had a nice little run at the gym after to calm myself down. So it's been a very interesting day. I've had some time to think about the trades, but did not disappoint. So let's jump right into the trades.
Shoot it.
The first one, as Zach said, this kind of broke very early in the morning, late last night, and the biggest player in this trade was Brock Nelson going to the Colorado Avalanche, alongside William Dufour, probably just a depth guy, and going to the Islanders, Callum Ritchie, a 2026 conditional first-round pick, a 2038 third-round pick, and defenseman Oliver Killington. I really like this trade for Colorado. I think it really shores up their center depth, especially with another move they made later in the day. I mean, do we want to talk about that now?
Yeah,
or we can bring it
run
up
it.
later. And they also acquired later in the day Charlie Coyle from the Boston Bruins in exchange for Casey Middlestat, William Zellers, and a 2025 second-round pick. I also like this trade for the Avalanche because Charlie Coyle, I think, is a pure third-line center, and they needed a third-line center, especially moving Middlestat out. Brock Nelson will slot into that second line most likely. So, I mean, yeah, it's really good depth up the middle. Then you got McKinnon, Nelson, and Charlie Coyle. And Charlie Coyle can play in that second line if you need him, too, as a center.
Okay, so Charlie Coyle was the center. I was going to ask that. The Avalanche got better today.
Yes.
And they asserted themselves as, even though they might end up, let's say they finish as wild card one team, they're not a team that.
I would now, if I was a division winner and I got to play Colorado in the first round, I'm not happy.
Imagine the series that it's going to be Vegas and Colorado match up in the first round.
The playoffs, we were talking about this a little bit in our group chat earlier in the day. This might be one of the most entertaining playoffs we might ever have.
I agree with that. And
because I've never seen this many teams all in. When you're trading 28 picks, you're all in.
Somebody
and we've had several teams Florida doesn't have might probably won't have a first round pick till 2029. That's insane.
Somebody compared the NHL trade deadline to how they're treating draft picks is turning into the NBA.
Yeah,
where
pretty much.
Yeah, and it's crazy. And for the Avalanche with this trade, they needed to address center depth because, frankly, I know.
I mean, that was a concern after they traded Rantanen because he would play with McKinnon, but he could play center.
Yeah,
if you needed him to.
Yeah, and at one point he was playing second line center minutes because Middlestead was so bad.
Yeah.
And you get rid of Middlestead, you bring in Charlie Coyle, you bring in Brock Nelson.
Both upgrades.
And their top 3 centers are it's good. Like it's
I mean,
great.
they have a pretty good rounded roster. They also addressed goaltending earlier in the year to completely transform that team. Yeah, Colorado's a dangerous team going into the playoffs for sure. I thought they had a really good day today.
And I'm just saying, we're probably going to end up getting a Dallas-Colorado first-round series because Colorado right now is that tied.
I mean, I think they'll pass
Minnesota.
Yeah,
they will.
Minnesota's probably going to be a wild card team.
They're going to be a wild card team,
Yeah.
and so then we'll probably get Colorado and Dallas first round. That's going to be exciting to watch. And like going over to the Islanders side, I also like this for them too. Because
I think it was time. Yeah,
it would like. I guess the final trade offer that the Islanders had for Brock Nelson was 3 by $7.5 million, but Brock Nelson wanted more term, deservedly so. And he can put 30 goals in the back of the net, and to get the value, get a first-round pick, get Shillington, and a nice little prospect in Richie and Lou Lamoriello. I'll give him credit where credit's due. It doesn't feel like he wants to tear it down, but it was time to move on.
That's a good return
Nelson.
for a player that pretty much said, I'm not re-signing with you.
Not only that, but also he has upgraded their prospect pool to Richie, Yzerman, and whatever top 10 draft pick they get this season. And then on top of it, you had a 2026 first-round pick from Colorado.
I did fail to mention in that trade for Killington, they immediately flipped him to Anaheim for nothing.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, for future considerations.
Okay. All right. Well, they don't have Shillington. Yeah. So either way, though, do you want to give it do you want us to give these trades grades? Because why not? Just as a team as a whole. Not
Colorado, I would give like a B+ or an A-. Like, I don't think some of the moves these other teams made kind of put them above everybody else. Colorado is firmly, I think, in the cup contention conversation now. We'll get to these other two teams that I think they both had A+++ days. Yes. At least I'm talking in terms of this season. Yeah. They're fucked for the future because they have no draft picks.
I mean, those teams that don't need draft picks.
You're trading away 2028 picks.
It doesn't matter. They're still going to be disgusting. Not the draft picks, but the teams. Anyways, yeah, like the Islanders, I'd give a B- in this trade.
Yeah, it wasn't. They didn't get fleeced.
And again, I go B+ in this trade. If we're talking about overall day, I go Islanders. Again, I think they're a B- to C+, and the Avalanche, I think, had an A- day.
Yeah,
truthfully.
Yeah, no, the Avalanche got better. I think the Islanders didn't get fleeced. They got fair value for Brock Nelson, so I think both sides should be happy with what they got.
Senators.
Yeah, so this one kind of caught me off guard. This is the trade I was alluding to that got me a little angry. So the Buffalo Sabres have traded Dylan Cozens, one of Zach's favorite players.
Of all time, mind you.
I mean, he's got the workhorse from Whitehorse. They're going to put slap the Senator sticker on there. And you got the Cozens jersey that's now worthless.
Basically, if anybody wants it for 5 cents, hit me up. I got Venmo,
so
PayPal, Cash
Cozens
App.
gets shipped alongside Dennis Gilbert and a 2026 second-round pick to Ottawa for Josh Norris and Bernard Docker. What's his first name? Jacob Bernard Docker. Yeah, I mean, Dylan Cozens' name had been trade rumors
since mid-November.
Yeah. You know, he hasn't had a good season. And so, you know, I think he did need to change his scenery. I really don't like trading him within the division. I mean, maybe that was the best offer they got. I think the way the Sabres viewed it is they did a 1-for-1 trade.
I also do think that the Sabres, they're going to trade Cozens. They were going to get a right-handed defenseman in the trade no matter what. And I get Bernard Docker is not great. His underlying analytics are god-awful.
I mean, he's still 24. I mean, he still has room to grow, but he's had chances in Ottawa to play.
He does have high upside, and coming through the Senators system a few years ago, he was looked at as a potential
he was a first-round pick.
Yes, there's a reason why he was a first-round pick, and I know they always don't pan out.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I just want to add to that. It's an interesting point. I was watching Sportsnet, you know, for the trade deadline coverage, and they were talking about all these first-round picks that get traded, and they were talking about Casey Middlestat. It was like, okay, he's getting a third chance now. Like, if this was like a 4th or 5th round pick, they'd be out of the league by now. Like, first round picks are given so many more chances than any other kind of player.
I think teams look at it as like
Even if you're a late first round pick, they're going to give you an extra chance when it's not even needed.
you're not wrong, and I do feel like some teams look at these first round picks like they were drafted in the first round for a reason. Let's see if we can be the team that can rediscover his
I think the perfect example of that is Nail Yakupov from the
Yeah.
Oilers, who might end up being one of the worst first overall picks of all time. I don't know if you ever heard that story that Brian Burke told about the draft process with Nail Yakupov. I'm not going to tell on here. It's worth looking up. It's really good. Really good.
I feel like I've heard it, but it's not ringing.
Pretty
in my
much
brain.
like I think he was the GM of the Maple Leafs at the time. They had like the 3rd pick or something. And they went up to Yakupov. They interviewed him.
Oh, okay.
And he was
it's ringing a bell
he was
now.
like, why are you interviewing me? I'm not going to be there.
Yes, I remember that. That rung a bell.
He's like, yeah, you're right, but fuck you. I'm going to trade up to 1 just to not pick you.
That's funny. I love that.
Yeah.
Where do you want to start? Sabres or Sens side? Because I can start with either or.
Let's start from. I'm going to approach this trade in kind of 2 ways. I don't
Love
know where
it.
the second really ties into this. I don't know why the Sabres gave up a 2nd round pick.
Makes 0 sense.
So the way I see this, it's pretty much Cozens for Norris, 1-for-1. So kind of both those players are kind of in similar situations where Cozens has a very high upside. We saw it 2 years ago. He had a 60-plus point campaign, over 30 goals. He was looking like he was going to be like that Tom Wilson kind of player, a physical guy who wasn't afraid to get in the dirty area, stand up for your teammates, get in a fight every once in a while, and then can score 30 goals. And then the Sabres gave him that big contract extension, and he's gotten worse every year since then. Nothing seems to go right for him. I don't know if he's in his own head or what is the issue with the system or coaching, but he's regressed. And then Josh Norris, on the other hand, I wouldn't say he's like not showing his potential. Like, when he's out there and he's healthy, he's great. But how often is he out there and is he healthy?
He has 1 season of over 60 games now, 66 games.
Yeah.
I think he scored 25 or 30 goals in that
Yeah,
season.
he scored 30 goals, and they gave him that big contract extension.
Correct. And then
he played 8 games the next year.
Yep. And then every other season he's played less than 50 games. Well,
So,
55, sorry.
I think the way you look at it, I think Ottawa's looking at it from the perspective of, like, if Cozens can get back into form, him and Kachuk together for years,
and Timmy Stu.
like no one's going to want to mess with us because they could beat you up, and then they can score 30 goals, 30, 40 goals a year on you guys. And then the Sabres look at it from is like, okay, well, we've seen more consistency out of Josh Norris. Can he stay on the ice? I think Josh Norris is the better player right now, but this, I think, has a really high potential to bite the Sabres in the ass in a couple years.
I think it can bite both teams in the ass, too. Realistically.
I mean, it's a risky move from both sides. I mean, the Dennis Gilbert and Bernard Docker.
I look at that as like a swap.
I don't get the 2nd round pick. I really don't, especially like the Sabres. I don't think the Sabres are going to be that great next year. And so you have your 2nd round pick that's going to be probably an early 2nd round pick. And from what I'm hearing, the 2026 draft is going to be pretty decent, pretty deep. This year's draft, not so much.
Yeah.
But next year's draft should be decent. So it's just really interesting to me. I mean, I guess we're just going to have to wait and see on this one.
Yeah, this is a trade where I want to look back at it at the end of next season and be like, where do we stand? Like, is Josh Norris being able to play? Even if he can give the Sabres 70 games a season, I'll take that because that's better than what he's been. And if you're the Senators and you can get Cozens back to even just 25 goals a season and 55, 60 points, like, you'll take that too. And if the Sabres look at Jacob Bernard-Docker, I loved him in like NHL 22.
I mean,
but if they look at him as
a potential D partner for Owen Power
that's
because
the
they
point that
desperately needed a right-handed defenseman.
that's the point that I'm getting at, and I get they desperately need one. Like anybody is better than a Yoki Haru and a Clifton on that second pair. But if they look at him as like a long-term solution for Owen Power's D partner, we might have a little bit of a problem. Unless he comes into Buffalo and he fucking.
I mean,
tears it
he's
up.
gonna get a chance to play. Because they just traded away 2 of their depth defensemen. They traded away Dennis Gilbert, and then later in the day, they traded Henny Yogi Haru to the Boston Bruins for a 4th round pick, which I think that's good value for Yogi.
Yeah.
I thought we were talking like, oh, we'll be happy with a 6th round pick.
What do you think if the Senators end up getting Fabian Zetterlund too? Because
I really don't have much of an opinion on that. I really don't know Zetterlund that much as a player.
Because this is this is probably going to be a lot of me going on a tangent,
Yeah.
but I did some research today, and the Senators have had a lot of struggle scoring 5-on-5, and this ties into the Cozens trade too, because the Sabres power play one of the worst in the league. Guess who's really got on the power play? Josh Norris. The Senators have been one of the worst teams, even strength scoring, and not only do they get Zetterlund, who most of his points and goals come from even strength, but also Dylan Cozens too. And so with the Senators acquiring two guys that can contribute even strength, maybe it gives them a little bit of a boost. Now, Zetterlund is a younger guy coming from San Jose to Ottawa, and I think can give them a little bit of an offensive boost. I don't mind the day that Ottawa had at the deadline. Sure, could they have done some other things? Yes and no, but I do think they did address the one need, and that is just even strength scoring. And if that can even be a little bit above league average going the rest of the way, this team has a realistic shot to go into the playoffs, maybe a little bit hot. They might snag the second spot in the wild card or possibly even the first spot and then go from there. I mean,
they might not make the playoffs.
oh, that's what I'm saying. They might end up snagging it, and
Yeah.
we'll see because this team.
Because Detroit lost again tonight, so.
Who they? Oh, I didn't even know they played last night.
No, they played tonight. They lost.
Okay.
They got smacked by the Capitals.
That's rough. That's not a shock though. I
So
mean,
they're not on a 5-game losing streak.
you have Columbus, Ottawa, New York, Detroit, Montreal, all within 2 points of each other.
Yeah.
66 to 68 points.
And I think tomorrow Ottawa and New York play each other. Yeah, so that's a big game.
That's a huge game.
Yeah.
And the Ottawa Senators still have a game on hand on everybody in the playoff race.
Yeah, no, it's going to – Montreal's back in the conversation now. Detroit should be pretty comfortable in a spot, but they can't fucking win.
They can't. They end up going on they're a very streaky team, Detroit is.
Yeah, but let's get back to the trades because that's the bulk. So do we want to grade the Sabres?
Yeah,
and
let's trade
the
this one.
Senators?
Go ahead.
I'm gonna give the Senators a B-. They're taking a chance on Cozens. I'm gonna give them a bit of a higher grade than the Sabres because they got a second-round pick.
Yeah,
I will give the Sabres like a C+. This is gonna be. We have to wait.
Yes, I agree. It's a B- and C+ for me as well.
Yeah.
All right, we got another trade coming up, and this is the only reason I'm bringing this up is because he was in trade rumors, and they also somehow got a first-round pick from Scott Lofton.
Yeah.
Ended up going to the Toronto Maple Leafs.
I'm surprised. You're surprised that they got a first because it sounded like that was his.
Well,
like,
their
that was the
asking
going
price was a
rate.
first,
Yeah.
but Scott Lofton and a 2025 fourth-round pick and a 2027 sixth-round pick go to Toronto for Nikita Grebenik and a conditional 2027 first-round pick goes to Philly. I'm surprised I pronounced that name right.
Philly's getting a lot of Russians on their team. Jeez.
I know. Fucking look at that.
Grebenik's a decent prospect.
Yeah.
He's probably a few years away from seeing NHL time, but I like this trade for Toronto a lot. Scott Lawton can go right in and be their third-line center.
Yes, he
and
can.
that gives them really, really good center depth for the playoffs. Really, really good.
Yeah, and the Maple Leafs had a decent deadline, I thought, too. Scott Lofton going to Toronto, and I know I said that I was surprised about the first-round pick. The Briere was asking for the first-round pick. And also, if you're a team like Toronto, you don't give a fuck about first-round picks. That's the story of this deadline.
Well, they traded away 2 first-round picks today. So.
Exactly. And you also ended up getting Brandon Carlo, too, from the Boston Bruins.
Yeah.
And, again,
that one was – I don't know how much I like that one for Toronto.
They gave up a lot for Carlo, I felt like. And they ended up getting up Fraser Minton, a conditional 2026 first-round pick, and a 25 fourth-round pick. The Bruins ended up retaining 15% of Carlo's salary.
Carlo still does have 2 years left on the deal.
And Toronto's 2026 first-round pick is top 5 protected. So that's most likely still.
Yeah, I really like the Lawton trade for Toronto. I thought that was a really good trade, and because they're in win now mode too.
Yeah, they needed a third line center, and because Max Domi wasn't playing great hockey, and you end up getting a guy like Lofton who is a gritty, physical, he'll punch you in the draw type of player. And the Maple Leafs, I felt like needed that. And frankly, the Maple Leafs are scarier now than they were going into the deadline.
No, they did get better.
And
it's just you're always mortgaging a good part of your future, and that's what Toronto is doing right now. And that tells me they're going to have to re-sign Mitch Marner. I think they're going to re-sign him anyway, but now I think that makes it even more desperate where your prospects pool is getting weaker. You're trading away first-round picks, so you kind of got to hit on the prospects you got left and keep you guys around. Probably try to sign Tavares to another contract. So it'll be interesting. But
They have an intriguing offseason coming up.
yeah, but I don't think they care right now. Right now, they think they have a really good chance to win the cup,
We'll
and they're going all in.
I'll get into it a little bit later, but I do think there's a clear separation in the East and Western Conference between the top contenders.
I agree with you. I think we're both going to name the same teams as well.
We are. So the big trade that happened that took about 13 hours to finally finalize.
Ooh.
Mikko Rantanen ends up getting dealt to the Dallas Stars, and the Carolina Hurricanes, in return, they get Logan Stankoven, a conditional 2026 first-round pick, a conditional 2028 first-round pick, a 26 third-round pick, and a 27 third-round pick. Both first-round picks are top 10 protected, by the way.
Well, before we discuss this trade, I just want to give the Colorado Avalanche GM a nice clap, because not only did he have a good day for his team, but man, what he makes the Hurricanes look like idiots.
McFarland, we absolutely love you on the Checking for Behind podcast. Good fucking job.
No, he's a good GM.
He's a great GM.
I mean, so you trade away Rantanen because you're pretty much saying, like, well, we love to keep him. He's great chemistry with Nathan MacKinnon. Been on their team forever. Stanley Cup champion with them. But we need to address our depth. We can't afford, because he was asking like $14 million from the Avalanche.
At the time, yeah, he wanted $14 million.
And maybe if they would have been $12 million, then maybe we should have kept him. But
I mean, also,
I think that's a very fair contract for him.
It is a fair contract, but also if you're from the Avalanche perspective, McFarland was very self-aware that if they kept Rantanen, they would have a worse chance to win the cup.
This gave them the ability to completely reshape their roster.
Correct.
And I don't think if they didn't do that initial trade, that they would have made the other moves today.
Correct, because
I still think they probably would have traded for Charlie Coyle, but it changed some things because it freed some money up and it gave them more flexibility.
Yeah, and
I think they're better now than when they had Rantanen, honestly.
I'm glad that you brought that up because Rantanen is a superstar in this league, and he was on a top 5 point pace in Colorado when he was in Colorado. But when you look at it from a team's perspective, frankly, I think their chances of getting a cup are better without him than with him because, like you said, you can round out your depth. Natchez is half as cheap as...
Yeah, if Natchez keeps playing like this, yeah, it'd be a steal because you're paying him half of what you were paying Rantanen.
But even then, though, like when Natchez feels like he's going to end up eventually re-signing with Colorado unless
we'll
things
see.
changes.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, I'd be really happy to play on a line with Nathan MacKinnon for a long time, too.
I mean, like, even if Natchez gets if he keeps playing like this, even an 8x10, you're saving $2 million with the cap going up.
I will give him something to think about because it seemed like he was pretty dead set on going to free agency, but now maybe he's having fun in Colorado. Took a shot at his old team. He's like, hey, maybe before you trade a guy, you should see if he'll sign with you.
I mean, there's no bad blood between him and the players, but, like, it's like Natchez is like...
I mean, but this is a bad look for the Hurricanes.
It's horrible. I mean, you look at this from the Hurricanes, couldn't keep Gensel. Couldn't get Shea or Pesci re-signed.
I think with Gensel's a little different because I think they did initially view him as a rental.
That's fair.
And they did want to keep him. But they had negotiations after they got eliminated in the playoffs. Couldn't come to a deal. I think they ended up trading his contract rights to Tampa Bay.
It almost didn't feel they wanted to get something done, but it almost didn't feel like a necessity in a way, like it did with Mikko, where it's like Mikko, like you better get him.
Because I think Gensel going into the deadline, I'm pretty sure the last year there were reports saying that he wouldn't sign an extension anywhere.
Yeah,
he wanted to go to UFA.
He wouldn't do a sign and trade, and he was basically viewed as a rental. That's why his return wasn't as good. If it was better, then we could be looking at an extension that way.
Oh yeah, if he would have signed an extension right away, they would have given.
But also, when you look at this package that they got from Mikko Rantanen, you're like, okay, they didn't make out bad. But also, you had Natchez, you had Drury, and you had like Mikko Rantanen, and I threw Drury in there because he's one of the best face-off guys in the entire league.
He's like a pure fourth-line center,
right? And he
important on a playoff
He wins
team.
At like 58% of his face-offs or something like that, which is very important. It's very underrated.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of think, I mean, they're getting a good player back in Logan Stankoven. I think he's going to continue to develop well. I think he'll be a good player in this league. I don't think he'll be like a Mikko Rantanen or a Martin Natchez, but he'll be a good player.
Yeah, and
maybe a 50, 60-point kind of ceiling kind of guy. Who knows? I mean, he'll get a chance to play a lot because they have some issues now in that team. I mean, I thought they got a decent return. They got 2 first-round picks. I'm not like a second.
Yeah, 2/3, 26 and 27.
So, but I think this pretty much takes Carolina out of top contention for me this year.
They're a playoff team for me.
They'll probably win their first-round matchup because they're going to end up playing New Jersey, Columbus, maybe the Rangers. They'll probably win that matchup. I can't see them going past the second round.
But then you're going to have to go up against Washington.
Yeah.
Washington is smacking them.
Yeah, they got the depth to kick your butt.
Yeah, and Dallas, man.
Yeah.
Dallas. Dude, the last 2 years I've been on Carolina's bandwagon has bit me in the ass because they couldn't get over the hump. This offseason, I'm like, fuck you, Carolina.
Last year we both picked them to win the cup.
We did.
Yeah.
Going into the season, we picked them to win the cup.
Yeah.
And both of us are like, fuck you, Carolina. Now I've been on the Dallas bandwagon since the start of the last playoffs. Obviously spent $300 on a Wyatt Johnston jersey just for you guys. I love that jersey. I don't know why. And Dallas, it's your fucking time to win a cup. Come on, dude.
I mean, if they don't win a cup with this team, it might just be an issue where they have too many good players.
Dude, dude, you have Wyatt Johnston, Jason Robertson, Mikko Rantanen, Rope Hintz, Miro Heiskanen. Oh, the list goes on. Thomas Harley. Dude, I
want to look at their potential lineup.
I'm orgasm over this fucking team, dude.
No, that their depth is kind of ridiculous, and they're in a really good spot right now because you can say, yeah, they gave up 2 first-round picks and 2 third-round picks for Mikko Rantanen. They have a really good young core. They still have good prospects. They draft well. They develop well, and they have all these guys locked up. And they have some veterans. They have Matt Duchene, Jamie Benn, Tyler Seguin. But honestly, I think they could keep them because I think if they ever keep having a chance to win, Matt Duchene's a really good fit on that team. I think he'd be stupid to leave unless some team's offering him like a ridiculous amount of money. But just looking at this is their lineup right now without Tyler Seguin being back. First line, Jason Robertson, Robe Hintz, Mikko Rantanen. Second line, Mason Marchment, Matt Duchene, Mikael Granlund. Third line, Jamie Benn, Wyatt Johnston, Evgeny Dodonov. And then the fourth line, Oscar Back, Sam Steele, and Maverick Bork. So Tyler Seguin comes in. Who do you put on the fourth line? Probably Benner Dodonov.
You're probably taking off Dadonov or Dononov, however you pronounce that name. And now you have 9 years of Mikko Rantanen. You have 7 more of Rope. You have 6.
They signed Wyatt Johnston to a contract extension today.
A beautiful 5 by 8.5 or 8.75. Then you also have Miro Heiskanen for he's all the way down on LTR. You have him for.
Well, they got all their young players
5
locked
more
up. I think the only one they got to worry about now is Jason Robertson
and Thomas Harley.
Yeah, Harley's he's gonna get a lot of money.
Woo! He's gonna be expensive.
Because I feel like he was very underrated going into this season. Heiskanen gets hurt, gets a little bit more of a spotlight. I think how well he played in the Four Nations face-off really took his recognition to another level, and he's been playing super well for Dallas since Heiskanen got hurt. So their defense core is really, really good, too. They have really good depth. Top pair right now, Harley Labushkin, Esa Lindell, Cody Ceci, Leon Bichelle, and Matt Dumba. So Heiskanen, they're expecting Seguin and Heiskanen to be back before the playoffs start. So, yeah, this team might be the best team in the league on paper.
Name me a better team than the Dallas Stars right now. You cannot.
I think there's only one team you can debate about, and that's the Florida Panthers.
I agree that you can debate it, but
Winnipeg still has a really good team too.
Winnipeg's team is.
And I thought they had a good day today too.
I thought. I'm gonna go off the top of my head here at the top before we move on. The top 5 teams in the league for me, just on paper.
Yeah.
We have this is we'll go in chronological. No, we won't go in order. Just 5 teams in general: Winnipeg, Dallas, Florida, Colorado, and I think Washington is the 5th team in there.
Yeah, I got Dallas, Florida. You put Washington up there. I'm gonna keep Vegas in my top 5.
That's fair.
And for the 5th one, it's either Colorado or Toronto.
That's fair. Yeah. I love Toronto. They just missed it for me. I think they're the 6th best team on paper.
That Atlantic's looking to be kind of a bloodbath because the Tampa Bay Lightning are all in now.
And it felt like Boston kind of threw in the white towel today. That included trading Brad Marchand.
The wildest part about all this is, you look at all these trades, and I'd say like these are the teams that I think went all in today. The Panthers went all in, Toronto went all in, Tampa Bay's all in, Winnipeg went all in, Dallas went all in, and Colorado went all in. Like they went broke or bust, and they spent a lot of their good draft capital they had left, traded away any decent players, the prospects that were worth a lot. The craziest thing is, like we agreed, Colorado's probably going to end up in that top 3 in the Central. One of these 3 teams is not going to be in the second round, and Winnipeg, Dallas, and Colorado.
According to you, there's 2 teams. You throw in the Winnipeg Jets, who are going to lose to the Calgary Flames. I'm just kidding. I know.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
That's insane.
Stupid.
You arguably have the best 3 teams in the league, and one of them is guaranteed to be out of the second round.
We're the West. No offense to Edmonton or LA. I would much rather have Dallas and Colorado both make it to the second round than one of Edmonton.
I want to see
or
Connor
LA.
McDavid in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's true. And Leon Draisaitl. All right, LA, you're fucking booted. We're putting Colorado in the Pacific Division instead of LA.
It's kind of wild because if you look at the Western Conference, like I don't know if you saw the message I sent earlier. It was like, I think the Eastern Conference might win the Cup this year just because the Western Conference is literally going to kill themselves.
No, I didn't see that.
Because because you have Winnipeg, Dallas, Vegas, Edmonton, and Colorado. Who is coming out of that Western Conference?
That's 6.
Whoever comes out of that Western Conference, I don't know if they have any people left.
They're gonna
because those are gonna be really intense
series.
Where
Matthew Tkachuk explained after the Cup loss to Vegas or whatever, where going into Game 5 he literally couldn't stand up. That's gonna be one of the Western Conference teams.
So let's say you're Dallas. This is your potential route to the Stanley Cup Final. First round, Colorado. Second round, Winnipeg. Third round, Vegas or Edmonton. Yeah. And then you could get to play probably Florida or Toronto in the Cup Final. Washington.
My only concern with picking Dallas to win the Cup instead of an Eastern Conference team is that they're going to be so beat down going into the Cup Final if they get there that they're going to be gassed. And I know there's no excuses, like we've said before with Dallas and last year's playoffs against Edmonton, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. And like in the Eastern Conference, you can be a team like Florida who, you play a team like...
The Atlantic bracket's going to be tough. I think the team in the best spot right now is the Washington Capitals in the Eastern Conference.
Washington Capitals, low-key, might have a free ride to the Eastern Conference Finals. If they don't shoot themselves in the foot, or if they don't get injured, knock on wood. So
because they're probably going to win the Eastern Conference, barring something unforeseen. And they are probably going to play Ottawa, New York, Columbus, or Montreal or Detroit in the first round. They should beat them, and then they get to play either I'd say a weakened Carolina team and a weakened New Jersey team. So they might have a pretty good ride to the Eastern Conference Final.
I think it's going to be a crash course for Washington to play probably Florida because, like you just said, Florida, if they play a team like Detroit or Ottawa, they win in 5 games, I think. But then you also have to play, let's say you play Toronto or Tampa. That's going to be a hard series.
Man,
but
this playoff, I can't remember a time where we've had this many teams all in like this and so many amazing teams.
I'm going to be completely honest with you. If the playoffs are going to be as exciting as what we think it is, I might end up, because I'm working morning shifts now, fuck it, I'm live streaming every single game I can.
Yeah.
Well, okay, not every single game. First round, no, that's not going to happen. But you get the
I get
point.
what you're saying. Yeah. No, these playoffs are going to be crazy.
How did you feel about Brad Marchand?
Yeah, I was kind of surprised because his name was in rumors. We talked about this last week where, he'd only get traded if he wanted to be.
Yeah.
And he'd end up getting traded like pretty much. It was a little bit after the deadline this came out.
Yeah, this was like a last-second deal.
Yeah, so I don't know if Brad Marchand was kind of like going back and forth all day on what he wanted to do. Like, do I stay in Boston? Do I go to another team and try to win another Stanley Cup? He's gotten so close so many times since he won that one, because 2011 is a long time ago now.
Yeah.
It's like almost 15 years ago now. And, he's been to 2 other Stanley Cup finals, lost both of them. Been on some really good Bruins teams, had his heart broken. Now he's doing the bad guys.
Going to the favorite out of the East?
Yeah.
No. But, listen.
It's wild. They're going to have Matthew Tkachuk, Brad Marchand, and Sam Bennett on the same team.
Possibly on the same line too at one point.
Were they also gonna like fucking beat everybody up or like get in there like? Yeah.
The Florida Panthers are going to be scary. They already are scary. And Boston goes to Florida Tuesday. Sorry, Florida goes to Boston Tuesday, but Brad probably isn't going to play because he's injured.
Yeah.
Which is going to be rough, but
That'll be tough first game.
Somebody
against your old team.
Somebody ended up bringing up that there could be fire Don Sweeney chance in the building.
I mean, I think when you trade a player like Marchand, your hands are kind of tied because he has a full no movement clause.
No, it's only 8-team list.
Oh, but you still do right by him. Like you're not gonna fuck him over and say, "Yeah, we're trading you Anaheim."
I don't.
They gave us the best offer. Sorry. Good luck.
Yeah, if you're Sweeney and you do it, you're just a fucking dickhead.
And that also sends a message to the other players in the organizations. Like that's how you're gonna treat our captain.
There's also
who's been a lifelong Bruin, who's been like a textbook Bruin, like
who's gonna be in the Bruins Hall of Fame.
Yeah, but might have his number retired.
Correct.
Like all-time great Bruin, like that's how you're gonna treat that. So no, that was the right thing to do was to trade him to a contender. Like that's what you do with those vets.
Let's hop into our winners and losers.
Yeah. So
what do you think?
I just want to preface this with we're saying these are winners or losers for this season.
Mm-hmm.
We're not looking really super long term right here because I think that's a different conversation because you have these teams that traded like picks 2028 picks.
Yes.
Like Florida does not have a first round pick until 2029.
Yes, these are trade deadline winners and losers.
So I mean I think the biggest winner today is the Dallas Stars.
Correct. I'm with you.
I would say either Dallas. I think Colorado had an amazing day.
Those two teams, I give an A+ to deadline. I think
Florida. They didn't really have a ton they could do. They were limited, but I thought they did the best with the moves they could make.
Yeah, they had very limited cap space. I thought that they went out and addressed some needs, and they ended up getting. I know they don't need a fucking veteran like Brad Marchand, but they got a guy with that can give you important minutes if asked upon.
I thought Pittsburgh had a decent day, trading away veterans for good returns. They got a second-round pick for Anthony Beauvillier. I think that's really good value.
They got great value for some guys, and it is unfortunate.
They didn't end up trading Rickard Rakell.
That's unfortunate, but again, like it.
I mean, you don't have to trade him right now. He's got term left. You can kick that down the road.
Not only that, but also like for some reason, I get they have Crosby. They still want to be competitive, so why trade away one of your best goal scorers?
Yeah. I mean, you still got to. Yeah, you got to field the team.
If you're
that's
right,
what we were saying last week. Like you could trade. You could say everyone's available. You still need to field the team. You're not gonna have the Wilkes-Barre, Scranton Penguins playing in the NHL for you.
If they wanted to tear it down, sure, Rakell's gone this deadline, but they clearly don't want.
Well, if they wanted to tear it down, they said Crosby's on the block.
That's true, and he's going to Colorado and winning a cup with McKinnon.
It's happening. I promise you, McKinnon and Crosby are going to end up on the same team one day. If Crosby might be 40, I don't care. It's happening.
It's like the fucking LeBron and Curry are gonna eventually team up in the NBA type shit at this point.
I don't know. LeBron's got Luka now. I don't know if he needs Steph.
He needs Steph.
Steph went crazy the other night.
Dude, Steph looked great.
I mean, LeBron's looking really good too. Like, what the fuck happened? Like, these two are like having a renaissance right now.
It's fucking. Sidney Crosby is the NHL version.
It's nuts. I mean that's a good comparison. Like Sidney Crosby and like LeBron and Steph. Like, how do they keep being this good for this long?
Right, and I'm not talking about like I don't think Sidney Crosby is the greatest player of all time, clearly, but like for longevity wise, like they've both been playing since 2003, 2005.
Extremely high level.
Right.
Well, no, Curry hasn't been playing that long.
No. Curry's only been in. Curry got drafted in 2009. I'm talking about just LeBron in general.
Oh, LeBron's ridiculous.
Yeah, he's nuts.
LeBron. I don't give a fuck. Like you could argue all day about who's the GOAT, Michael Jordan or LeBron. Nobody's doing what LeBron has done. No one in sports history, I would argue.
Correct. I don't
because Jaromir Jagr played forever. He was not at that high of a level. LeBron is putting up. If you look at his numbers from like 2010 to today, they're almost the fucking same.
Dude, he's like Tom Brady. He has 2 Hall of Fame careers.
Arguably 3.
Yeah, it's nuts. It really is nuts.
I'm not sure how long the average like NBA career is, but he's in year 22.
Yeah, it's not 22 years. I'll tell you that.
He'll get MVP votes this year, which is insane.
That's nuts. Dude, him and Curry are gonna get MVP votes at the age of 38 and 40. That's nuts.
I don't know. People like to hate him. We're gonna miss him when he's gone.
Yeah,
that's enough basketball
for sure. Yeah. So winners, we have Dallas. We went over Colorado, Florida, Pittsburgh, and also I put Ottawa on this list. I don't know because I felt like they addressed some needs, and maybe like having them on this list is iffy.
I think the jury's still out in the Cozens trade. I think that's a trade we're gonna definitely have to look at like this time next year. See, where the Sabres are at, where the Senators are at, because the Senators are in the middle of a playoff race right now. They very well could make the playoffs. I think they have a better chance to make it than not making it.
Yeah.
And then Buffalo, clearly not a playoff team.
Clearly not.
I don't know what they do to fix their situation, but maybe Josh Norris is part of that solution.
Maybe he just rattles off an 85-point season next year. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. Anything is possible.
Fuck it. Anything's possible.
Like if the Lakers can get Luka, anything can happen.
Exactly.
I still can't believe that. I know another bad. It still blows my mind that trade happened.
I love the reference.
It's still insane to me. It's like trading fucking Cale Makar for Erik Karlsson. It's like, yeah,
that's a great comparison.
Like, Karlsson's still good.
Was that off the top of your noggin?
Yeah.
That was fucking legendary.
Erik Karlsson's still good, but
he's not great anymore.
But Cale Makar, yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah. That's.
Can you imagine just being that GM though? It's like, hey, you want Luka? I was like, for what? Like AD?
He's like,
is that it? He's like, and a first. I was like, that it? He's like, yeah. He's like, okay.
You think I'm gonna say no? Dude, imagine getting that call in your warm room, and usually I'm assuming
this has got to be like some AI bullshit or something. Hang up.
Well, I'm assuming they talk it over with the team personnel in the front office and stuff.
Oh, that
Dude
you don't even
out,
need.
He's like,
yeah.
No, he's like,
get owner's permission.
Yeah, I will send it to the league office.
No, they didn't tell They didn't even tell the owners because they did not want it leaking because the Lakers GM did not want to have a bidding war for Luka.
Oh yeah. It makes total sense.
Enough basketball. Let's get to the losers today. One team I thought was a loser that made a trade that didn't really make any sense was the Detroit Red Wings acquiring Peter Mrazek. Don't understand it.
That makes literally zero sense.
I mean, yeah, I don't get it.
The Detroit Red Wings are in the midst of a playoff run. Couldn't even go out and get somebody to help their roster now. They don't need a guy like Peter Mrazek. I'm sorry.
I told you he was going to do something weird like this. I told you he was.
When did you tell me?
Last week when we were going over the trade deadline previews, Detroit might give away something for something stupid.
Okay. I think I remember this conversation very vividly where Yzerman always likes to either sell something off like an older veteran or bring somebody weird into the lineup, and Mrazek seems like that transaction.
I was watching NHL Network when this trade happened. A really great quote by Bruce Boudreau. They asked him, he's like, did this trade, Detroit's in the middle of an 8-year playoff drought. Does this trade, help them break the drought this year? He's like, better move it up to 9. That is great.
I fucking love that, dude.
I mean, just that you're off the top of your head first, I was like, better make it 9.
I love that.
I mean, I don't disagree with him. I don't think this really helps them.
Doesn't help them nor hurts them.
I mean, how many goalies do they have on this team now?
Oh, they also was that the trade where they traded Joe Veleno?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it. How does trading away Joe Veleno for a goalie help you? You have Sebastian Cossa coming up. You have Cam Talbot, who's been decent this year. Why are you trading for Peter Mrazek?
It makes zero. I feel like Yzerman did this just to be involved.
It's like, well, shit. Everyone else is making trades. I want to make a trade. You know who didn't make a trade? Montreal. Montreal never makes trades.
Montreal's very, very stingy. I was listening to the Elliot at 32 Dots podcast with Elliot. Elliot's I don't know who their GM is. Sorry, Canadians fans. Is anybody? Okay. Kent Hughes. He sticks to something. He doesn't budge no matter what. Let's say Joel Armia, for example.
He was like that with the Rangers too when he was the GM there.
If he wants a second round pick for Armia, it's not going to be a third. It's not going to be a fourth. It's not going to be a prospect. He wants a second and only a second. He won't.
I get that in the long run because then GMs know you're not fucking around.
Mm-hmm. I also don't think that they didn't need to make any moves either.
No.
Too
they've been playing really well lately.
They have been, and it's different from Detroit, where Detroit feels like they're ready to take that next step into.
I mean, that trade makes zero sense to me.
You're better off just not making that trade.
You're better off just not making that
just
trade.
Just fucking be quiet like some other teams like Montreal.
I mean, it doesn't make Chicago that much better right now, but if Chicago's I guess.
I mean, we'll take him
sure.
They have Knight and Soderblom now, so
yeah.
They don't need Mrazek.
No, but it's okay. Well, I guess we'll take Joe Veleno. I mean,
here's a transaction for you, NHL. Imagine being Yzerman saying, "Yeah, I'll call it into the league office," and he calls into the league office, presses on a little button on the speaker. He's like, "Yeah, so we traded Joe Veleno to the Detroit Red. We traded Joe Veleno to the Chicago Blackhawks.
I think there was
For
like picks involved too.
Peter
It was
Mrazek.
let me pull up that was a weird trade. When all you got the whole panel on the NHL Network roasting you, you know you did wrong.
Do you have to trade up or you want?
Give me 1 second.
So it's Peter Mrazek and Craig Smith to the Blackhawks for Joe Veleno. A 2-for-1 deal.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it. Yeah, and then Chicago doesn't end up trading Ryan Donato. Maybe it was a situation like similar to like Ken Hughes in Montreal. Was like, we want a second round pick for him.
Maybe Chicago's like, we want a first, and it's like we want nothing but a first. But also, I feel like a contender would have given up a first. So I
don't know. There would have had been more to it.
Yeah,
like, not just straight up for a first.
I did hear that there was a report that they were working towards an extension earlier this morning. I don't know how close that is.
I mean, they better be careful with that. I mean, I know they have a lot of money to spend, but this might be a one-year wonder kind of player.
But also, yeah, and Chris brought up a good point where he's smashed career highs. He's doubled career highs this season, and it's his UFA year.
Yeah, no, that might be like a trap. Maybe that's another reason why teams didn't want to trade him. Because when you're trading up something like that big of an asset like at first, it's like, okay, well, we wouldn't call him like a high-end rental.
That's true. I mean,
so if we're trading a high value pick, we should extend him.
If he even, let's say he's on pace for 55 points, right? If he put up in previous seasons a 40 point or 45 point, you can go for a trade for a third line center. But yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, you're good.
Other losers. I thought the Rangers were losers in the deadline.
They didn't really do anything.
That's the point.
Yeah.
They didn't do anything.
I mean, they got Nicholas Aube-Kubel. Come on.
Yeah, you're right. For Eric Brandstrom.
I mean, that's a nothing trade to me.
New Jersey, I felt like they needed to make a move with the Jack Hughes injury. They got Daniel Sprong. That's not going to solve anything.
Yeah, no.
I really wanted New Jersey to go out, and even if you didn't go out and get like a Mikko Rantanen or any of these top other guys,
I think it was a situation when New Jersey was like, we're not going to panic. They still have a long-term plan. I believe Dougie Hamilton's dealing with an injury right now too for the Devils. I don't know how long of a term of an injury that's going to be. Where you don't want to make a panic move and like trade for something and give up way too much.
I mean, that makes sense, especially for let's say a rental, for example, right? You don't. And in a case like New Jersey, where I feel like they're in the middle ground, where they're good enough to be a playoff team, but they're just not good enough to be a cup contender yet at this point.
I mean, I think Jack Hughes definitely that significantly they hurt their chances of having a pretty deep playoff run. I mean, they're going to need guys like Timo Meier to step up. Be that. I mean, Timo Meier's been okay.
I mean, he's been nothing but like average for them this year.
Maybe live up to that contract they gave you.
Just hover around a point per game and play some defense. You'll be okay. Yeah. But I know Timo Meier's game does not revolve around defense whatsoever.
Yeah. So New Jersey. I wouldn't really call them losers. I think it was just more of a situation where I actually give them credit for not making a panic move because we mentioned last week when announced Hughes was going to be out for the rest of the year. It's like, well, if they want to do something this season, they have to make a big trade, and they didn't. So maybe that's them waving the white flag, or we believe, to quote my favorite GM, Kevin Adams, the solution is in the room.
Maybe it is, again, Fitzgerald might be waving a white flag and be like, you know what? Either with or without Jack Hughes, or whether we make a panic move, we're not.
I mean, they still have a good team.
But they do have a good team for a fact. But maybe he looked around the Eastern Conference and is like, I don't know if we stack up to a team like Toronto, Tampa Bay, Florida, and be like Washington, and be like, you know what? Instead of going out and selling assets,
they did get Cody Glass.
That's fair enough. But that's also how I felt like about Minnesota and New Jersey, where they look around the conference is like, we're not going to go out and do a big swing because we don't stack up that well to the top contenders in the conference. So instead of I know they ended up for some reason trading a second for Nyquist, but instead of trading multiple first-round picks for guys like some of these other contenders, let's stay pat, let's chill, and, reevaluate come the summer. Maybe you're right. Maybe instead of having them as a loser, they're more of a, they're winners in the sense of they didn't panic with the Jack Hughes injury. They didn't panic with, okay, let's go out and try to get Mikko Rantanen and trade 2 first-round picks plus Simone Nemec and whatever else. Maybe that's good on them for not doing that.
I mean, they're still a team that has a pretty good prospect pool. They still have a very bright future, and we'll see. Maybe they surprise us all. I mean, and go on a crazy playoff run.
I hope so, but
And then Jack Hughes is comes out of the tunnel, Game 7, the Stanley Cup Finals, I'm back.
And then ends up getting hurt again, and
Dallas first shift gets slashed in the wrist. It's
And then Dallas goes on to win the Stanley Cup Finals. Wyatt Johnston game-winning goal.
With the foot in the crease.
Yes. Oh. It's going to end it for today's episode. If you guys enjoy all of our content, all of our socials are down below, as well as the subscribe button. If you guys are listening on Apple and Spotify, head over to our YouTube, subscribe, notification bell there for more exclusive content. And we'll see you guys in our next episode.